Hey there, Fletcher from All Things Overlanding here, and today I'm going to be talking about, on this episode of the podcast, some tips and tricks for how to prep your rig and also your gear in between trips. So when you get home from a trip, what do you do? If you're newer to this and you're not sure exactly what needs to happen, or you've had gear get ruined because you didn't get it opened up and aired out, that kind of thing, I'm going to walk you through my steps. I'm going to show you where I store my gear. I've got a lot of gear too, so please, if you're a minimalist or you don't have as much gear as me, hopefully this will be overkill for you. But again, wanted to kind of walk you through my tips and tricks for packing up your gear, getting things ready in between trips, maintenance for vehicles, so I will cover stuff about that, but then also your gear. So let's get into how to prep for overlanding trips and how to tear stuff down when you get home on this episode of the podcast.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you gave to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, everybody. So as I mentioned in the intro, today I'm talking about sort of my process for what I do when I get home from an overlanding trip. How do I break things down? How do I prep? Now, I'm going to go in order from packing, and I'm going to kind of cover that first, like how do I pack? And then I'm going to move into how do I tear things down after a trip. So in thinking about going out on an overlanding trip, you need to think about the normal stuff, right? Like you have a vehicle. In most cases, you're going to be driving quite a ways away. So like in my instance, just a couple weeks ago, I drove 6 hours to Missouri to meet up with some friends, some other YouTubers, Ben from Semper Gumby. He had a great event that we went to, and it was about 6 hours away. Well, my truck needed an oil change, so I made sure to plan ahead. And the week before I left, I actually did an oil change on the truck. I kind of checked my winch line. I just went through and checked everything. I made sure that I had all my gear. I do a packing checklist, so I actually do a spreadsheet, like a Google sheet, and I thought about all the stuff that I would need and planned it out. And then I just made sure to go through that list before I left and pack everything. Made sure I had my food, made sure I brought cigars with me. I brought some bourbon with me, like those sort of things that, maybe aren't already packed in your vehicle. You may need to make a checklist so that you make sure that you don't forget anything. But vehicle maintenance is super important. Check all your fluids, do an oil change if you need it. Make sure your tire pressure is up. My tire pressure was kind of low because it had gotten cold here, so I had to put some air in the tires. But if you're going to drive, 6 hours away, it was a few hundred miles, you don't want to be unevenly wearing your tires because you don't have enough air in the tires. So just do your normal sort of maintenance stuff that you would do to get ready. Now, as far as gear goes, again, I used a checklist. I also like to keep my stuff in one spot. So you may have seen this before if you watched the channel. I try and keep everything that I possibly can in my drawers. So like I've got my Bouge RV diesel heater down in my drawer here, so I cannot forget it. I've got all my other stuff over here on the other side. I've got tools and stuff in here. I've got all my cooking stuff. So I always have everything that I need to go. And then that way I don't have to remember about packing it. All I had to think about was bourbon, food, kind of the basic stuff that I would need that I don't always have in my vehicle. So in addition to my kitchen stuff, my tools, my diesel heater, it's wintertime here. So of course in the summer, this wouldn't be in here. This would go into my seasonal storage, right? So this would go away for the summer. Then I've also got a bag of all my accessories for my diesel heater. So my exhaust, my intake tube, my filter, my muffler, all that stuff is in this bag over here. Chairs I always carry with me, so that's just something to have ready. But here's some stuff that you've got to think about. I've got trash bags and I've got toilet paper. So those you have to keep an inventory on, right? You need to, when you get back, you can see there's nothing in here because I actually took some of this stuff out. The toilet paper got a little wet and I wanted it to dry, but I checked my plastic bags. I checked my toilet paper. I refill those. And then up here in the front of my drawer system, and if you're on the podcast, again, I'm going to describe all this. Don't feel like you're missing anything because you can't see it. But towards the front of my drawer system, then I have all these things here, which are mostly electronic rechargeable things or refillable things. So like over here, this is all my fire starting stuff. So I always check that when I get back from a trip, because if I used up most of my fire starting stuff, then I will refill that from my stores, which I'll show you here in a second. This is a flashlight, so I take this out and I charge it. I've got a lantern down here. I take that out and I charge it, right? These are for cigars. So I bring this inside and I refill it with new cigars if I want cigars for my next trip. So that's just kind of how I've got it. This is all shower stuff here. So like, again, if I'm out of soap or anything, then that's right up front and easy to get to. Down below is an air pump for like an inflatable mattress, and I'll take that out and recharge it. So again, just being thoughtful about what you've got, putting it in a spot that makes it easier to find. That is just a good first step so that it makes it easier for you to prep for a trip. Now I'm going to kind of jump into showing you where I store this and how I store this stuff. And at the same time, time I'm going to pivot to what to do when you get home from a trip, because as I show you this stuff, a lot of this stuff has already been unpacked from my previous trip and is being charged or is being stored, that kind of thing. So while I talk a bit about that, I'm also going to show you how I store it and where I store it. Now, again, keep in mind, please forgive my messy garage. I've got 2 cars now just for myself that I'm working on, and then I've just got gear everywhere, roto packs. I've got bumpers off my old truck, oil change stuff, you know, e-bike carrier gear. So everything's kind of a mess. So again, this is not meant to be any sort of example, but I'm just giving you ideas for how I store it and the things to think about when you get home from a trip. So up here on this cool hanging adjustable shelf, I can actually raise this up all the way to the ceiling if I want to, but right here's a good middle ground. I've got stuff that I don't use very often. So like this box up here is full of electrical stuff, you know, 0 gauge wire, things like that for when I'm doing a DC to DC charger or something like that. So like things that I will use maybe on a future build or if I install some new modifications, those all go up there, but I don't use them all that often. Same with this chair. I love this chair from Vivor, but it's just not very small. It's really big, so I don't take it on a lot of trips. I've got some traction boards up there. I've got an easy up awning that I will take sometimes, but not very often. So again, think about where you're storing stuff. If you've got stuff you want to keep, but you're not going to use that often, put it somewhere that's a little bit harder to get to, right? Use a place that maybe you don't access quite as frequently, but it gets stuff up out of the way, which is why that stuff is on this adjustable, raisable platform. Now over here is sort of stuff that for me personally, it's kind of stuff that I'm going to probably sell. Like it's extra gear that I don't need. I'm contemplating using this oven when I go to a cap and I have an enclosed space. I've got my extra interior pieces from my refrigerator that I don't really use the baskets, but I want to keep them. So those are up there. That stuff right there is my fire starting stuff. So again, I keep it right here in the garage so that when I get home, I can grab my fire starting kit out of the truck. I can walk over here. I can cut up a couple pieces off of this block of fire starters, and I'll put a link in the description below to some of these. I'm liking these Boulders ones now. I used to get these Weber charcoal fire starters because they're really cheap, but I don't know that they still make them. So anyways, I'll put a link to whatever they've got down below for that stuff for you. But that is kind of where my gear that I need or that I want to keep and have access to goes. Stuff that I don't need access to goes up on the higher thing. And then over here, I'm working to clean this up, but I've got a whole Vivor storage thing down here that will hold like my axe, my shovel. I lean my portal table up against here. And then this is also like a charging station. So like I've got this jump starter that's charging. I've just got done charging this Eaton Wolf air compressor. So again, I try and keep all my stuff over here that I'm going to charge and all my stuff that I use frequently on trips. Like my recovery gear is down here. So like that stuff is all here. This is stuff that I use on most of my trips. And maybe not all of it. You know, I may bring my Rotopacks water jug instead of my aqua brick. So I've kind of got not enough room over here. This is why I need to clean this stuff up and go through it a little bit. But all the stuff that I normally use a lot is going to be over here. All right, so now we are down in my basement, and forgive all the Halloween decorations, big Halloween person. Also got Christmas trees down here. But this is where I store the stuff that is more seasonal. Now, the reason for this is, again, this isn't stuff I'm never going to access, like the stuff that I put up on the raisable platform above my car in the garage that I just really don't get to that often. This is stuff that I do use a lot. So this shelf over here is where I store all my stuff like my power banks, or down here is my Starlink. Got a heated blanket here because, again, seasonal, right? So this is all my fall and winter stuff. Down here on the bottom, I've got a water filter, which I'm not going to use in the winter because it's going to be too cold. I've got bug spray. This Tongo bug spray is awesome stuff, kind of dry. It's made with Picardin, so it's really good for like ticks and stuff like that. And then I've got kind of like a bug out bag. So just in case if I ever needed first aid, if I needed a really quick to grab thing, it's right here. It's very accessible. And then, of course, I've got a splitter up here, and I've got all these power banks charging, right? So these things are always full and ready to go. When I take it on a trip, I unplug it. I take it out to the truck. I throw it in there. I take it on a trip. When I get back, bring it in, throw it on the shelf, plug it in, and then that way you're ready to go at a moment's notice. If you ever needed it, you've got it. Or also if we had a power outage. So that is another thing. As you can see, I've got several power banks. I don't keep too many. I only got the Vito Man is probably my favorite right now. The BioLite's kind of a backup. And then I've got a little like 500 watt hour power bank that's actually in the truck from the last trip that I need to take out and bring down here to charge. But it's just nice to have these if you never needed them. If we lost power or something, we've got kind of a backup down here. Back here in the back is where I've just got all the stuff that I don't really use that much. So there is an air conditioner back there. There's an extra fridge back there. There's just a number of different things, air mattresses and things like that. So this is kind of that temporary storage for stuff that I use less frequently. And that's why it's in the back behind the water softener. All right, so now that you've seen my storage, again, I'm actually mid pack out. I got back from a trip a week and a half or two ago. I took all my stuff out, cleaned my dishes. So down here, I've got some dishes that are going to be going back into the truck. But I wanted to run through sort of a list of those things and what it looks like, including your tent, including your awning, including your toilet tent, like all the things, right? So what does this look like in practice now that you've kind of seen some storage options and kind of some broad ideas for what to unpack when you get home? So when getting ready for a trip. Now, again, when you unpack from your trip, that is when you want to open up your tent. That's when you want to open up your awning. You want to make sure that those things get dried out. If it rained, if there was condensation or anything, it just never hurts to open it up for a day. Now, if you worked in the city or something, or you don't have a place to do that, that can be challenging. But where I live, I work from home most of the time, so I will just pop this thing open when I get home from a trip. If the weather's nice, if it's not, you can wait a day or two. It's not going to be the end of the world if your tent's wet for a couple days, but just wait for it to get to a point where it's warm enough and or sunny enough that you can pop it open. So pop open your tent. I put up all my crossbars. I put out my awning and everything. I basically set the whole thing up just to let it air out as much as possible. Same with the awning. Now, you don't even necessarily have to put the awning all the way out. Sometimes I will just sort of open it up and let it hang loose, but of course it's going to dry the most if you open it all the way up. So if it's not too challenging, open up your awning and let that dry. Same goes for bedding and stuff like that. You may want to take out your sleeping bag. You may want to take out your pillows, your mattress if you have a cover for it. You may want to take that out of your tent and just take it in, do your laundry. Same goes for dishes. As I mentioned, I did my dishes and these are all clean, and then I'm going to put them back into my kitchen bag. Sometimes I will check my fire pit too. Like I will just check that out, just make sure that everything is good, that there's nothing loose. I actually knocked it over when I fell out of a chair because I drank too much bourbon on a previous trip. So just want to check it, make sure I didn't damage it when I did that. And then down below that, that's my toilet right there. So just having a toilet, cleaning it all up, getting it back into your vehicle is a good idea. And then this is something that I actually won at the Gumby Gathering, the last event that I went to, but it's one of those little fire maple, like butane water boilers. So I'm actually excited about that because then I don't have to get my whole Jetboil Genesis out and go through all that if I just need to boil some water for like a freeze-dried meal. So again, make sure that when you get home, all your stuff gets opened up and dried out. You take out any dirty dishes, you take out any dirty bedding, you take out all of your kitchen stuff that you used. I like to take like a plastic bag from the grocery store with me, which I almost always have because I bought groceries. And then I use that to just throw my dishes in so that when I get home, I can easily just grab that plastic bag, take it in, get it all cleaned up and in the dishwasher, and I'm good to go. As I mentioned, refill your fire stuff. Refill your soap stuff, your toilet paper, your trash bags. I use trash bags both for my trash can itself back there, or I use them for the toilet. So it's just good to have all that stuff. Again, I check my chairs. I check and sort of inventory my stuff to make sure that everything got back to where it goes. Because sometimes you're ready to leave after a trip and you're tired and you just don't want to put everything back exactly where it goes. So I may come home, leave everything in the truck for a day or two, and then come out and actually move everything back to where it goes. But again, that's what I'm doing right now, is just kind of getting everything back to where it goes. Same goes for like fuel and rotopacks. I personally am not the type of person that likes to leave my rotopacks on the vehicle 24/7. Not only because it kind of looks a little bit ghetto and like I'm trying too hard, but also because, if you have fuel or something, you don't want it to get stolen, or you have water and you want to dump it out and let your water can dry out and get clean, you can do that when you get home. So I just usually pop them right off and just retighten the rotopack's handle just so it doesn't flop around and possibly come off or rattle. But then that's ready to go for the next time. Then when I'm ready for my trip, I can just loosen it up, throw my rotopacks on there, and I'm good to go. Same goes for fridge. And this is one that I don't hear people talk about a lot, but your fridge will get really gross if you have food in there. I had hot dogs, we did brats and stuff the last time. So there was definitely some juices that were spilled inside of the fridge. So again, having the ability to think about it, be ready to go the next time is very important. Sometimes I'll open my fridge and it smells terrible because I forgot to clean it out. So over the years, I've gotten really good at getting home, grabbing some like kitchen spray, coming out here, spraying out the interior, using some paper towels, wiping it all out, cleaning it up, and shutting it down until my next trip. Same goes for if you have like a water jug. So I have this Top Oak 7.6 gallon permanently mounted water jug on here. Now I only use this for cleaning dishes, like rinsing dishes and maybe showers. So I typically leave the water in this thing because I'm not going to drink it. Like that's not my plan, is to ever drink it. It's just going to be for showering and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily potable. But if you are using this for potable water, same sort of stuff applies, right? You want to be careful. You want to make sure that it's sanitary. You want to get it cleaned out every once in a while and refill it with clean water. You also want to check it. If I was going out to take a shower, I know this is getting pretty low now and I need to refill it, but we're also heading into winter, so I don't really want it to be super full because I worry about it potentially cracking or something like that in the cold temps. So I've kind of intentionally let it drain down to where there's very little water left in it just to be safe. The same could be said for any tools. If you've got a chainsaw, like I typically carry a chainsaw back here, I will take that out just from a theft standpoint because I've got an open bed rack. I don't like to leave gear in here. So I'll pull my chainsaw out, and then on the sides here, I keep a shovel and an axe, and I will pull those out also. So same goes for like flashlights and things. If you need to check these periodically and make sure that they're charged up because of course it's not going to do you any good if you go to camp and your lights are all dead. So I check that stuff out. For right now, I have all this stuff in my office. So I basically keep this all in my office, and I've got like a whole shelf dedicated to my like rechargeable overlanding gear. And so when I get home, I've got a power strip there. I'll take everything in and I will power it up and charge it. And then when I'm ready to go on my next trip, I will go there, grab it, and I will repack it into the truck. Now, eventually, once I get a cap, my plan is to take this whole drawer system out, and then I'm going to do built-ins all the way along the sides, all the way along the back. I'm going to build my whole power system into here. I've got a lead time 320 amp hour heated battery I'm going to use, and then I've got a lead time 3000 watt inverter that's going to go on the back wall there by the cab. And so again, that's my plan, is to have a full-time power system in here with plenty of amperage. I've got solar on top of the tent that is always charging that battery up, so it just stays at 100% basically all the time. And then my plan is, when I get home from a trip, instead of having to unpack everything and take it in, I'm literally going to build in everything. I'm going to build in all my camera gear. I'm going to build in my chainsaw batteries. I'm going to have spots for everything where I can just go boop, 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 and just attach everything to their chargers. And they will actually be held in place in like a dedicated built-in area, and they'll charge off my house battery. So again, that's kind of my goal, is my flashlights will always be charged. My, bug repellent, electric bug repellent thing will always be charged. My lanterns are charged. My chainsaw batteries are charged. I could even charge my e-bike is my eventual goal. So that is kind of my thinking. But again, is that overkill for you? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. How do you pack? How do you clean things out? Is there anything that I missed, right? Alrighty, guys. So as you saw, I have gear everywhere, but trying to consolidate it, getting it into some sort of a dedicated storage place, especially if you've got spots for seasonal gear, makes things a lot easier. Also, just being aware of what you've got, taking inventory when you get back, refilling stuff, recharging things. Like I mentioned, I plan to build in all my stuff eventually because that's just how lazy I am, I guess. I hate it when I have a trip ruined because I go out and my stuff's not charged, or I go out and I forget something, or I would be so mad. I've never had a tent or anything like an awning or anything get ruined from mold, but I have had times where it's gotten pretty wet and I've had to kind of clean it up a little bit. So again, just kind of making a checklist for yourself maybe might be good, or at least kind of getting in the habit. Again, the more you do it, the easier it will get. I've been doing this for so long now that I kind of come home and I have a whole process for how I break everything down, how I get things cleaned out, where I put stuff. But work on that. Work on a place to store your gear, dedicated storage, seasonal storage, and a process for how you're going to do it. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be a full-time job or anything, but if you take good care of your gear, then it's going to last longer. If you take good care of your vehicle, it's going to last longer, and it's going to save you money in the long run. So again, I hope that was helpful for you. If it was and you're listening on the podcast, make sure to leave a 5-star review, leave any comments that you've got. Those all mean a lot, and it helps the podcast get found. If you're on YouTube, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up down below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel because I do a ton of overlanding content, gear content, that kind of thing. So if you're into that stuff, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. Also, as always, in the description below will be links to all my other social channels, so wherever you want to come hang out, I'd love to have you. Then below this video, if you're watching on YouTube, is a join button, which is just sort of a passive way to support the channel, get you early access to the videos and some other perks. But whether you're listening on the podcast or watching on YouTube, if you want to be part of the Patreon group, which is a more active way to be involved, we've got a 24/7 Discord, we have a Zoom call every month, and we're even getting together a couple times a year just to go camping and kind of hang out and drink some beers and tell some stories. So if that sounds good, check out the Patreon link down below. $5 or above gets you in, and you get full access to everything. Also in the description below are links to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers, things like I hate people so I camp, or F people, let's go overlanding. So a little bit of everything. If you're looking for patches, stickers, there should be something down there for you. And then last but not least, there's a link to the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. Now, this group's totally free to join, has over 28,000 people in it, but unlike the other big groups, we don't allow bullying. We kick people out if you're a jerk. So you can ask questions, you can learn. If you're used to the big groups, but you're tired of them being so negative and toxic, this may be a good place for you, and we'd love to have you. But again, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.